Well met, lords and ladies, Jacob Butter speaking, and a warm welcome to this week's Walking Wednesday, and the final video and Walking Wednesday of the year while the bells are going. They've been going more often than before, so I think that's probably a sign that they're letting people ring them. They do that sometimes in different places. There was once a person who complained that the bells were going off, constantly, and they were trying to sleep. I think it was like midday or something like that, but not that I'm personally have any moral high ground on that one. But anyway, and then it turns out it was just that they were letting all the kids ring the church bells. Not this time. So either we have a rogue Carillionaire, to what I learned thanks to the Panto, or that's what's going on. But yeah, different locations, so who knows? And it happened to be the direction that I was heading in. Because even when I managed to avoid cars, I still run into some sort of noise situation. Although speaking of avoiding cars, that was very much not on the cards today. I didn't know that New Year's Eve was always going to be so busy in terms of traffic at this time of day, but there you go. I was in a line for quite some time, and I thought I wouldn't find a parking space at the shopping place that allows you 3 hours of parking, but turns out I did, even if it did involve squeezing between a large vehicle and one that wasn't actually parked within the lines it was supposed to be. But hey, when I was little, I used to squeeze between the seats of the cars, so it's reassuring that I can just, slot through for, between tight spaces of cars if needs be, which needs were, I guess, this time. Not sure how the past tense of that phrase actually works, but anyway. Yeah, I'm not going to get any closer to the church. I'll just redirect myself and head elsewhere. Not a problem. Last time I was around here, and actually I went on a day drive, was actually a few days before Christmas. And then I was expecting everywhere to be full, except for the one parking lot that I'm approaching right now that I should have once again considered, but didn't. So, So anyways, reflecting on the week, reflecting on the year, and there's a particular event that I want to talk about that did happen this week that I thought at first, how am I going to mention this? Because, I don't want to mention names, I don't want to mention exactly what happened, but I also feel like it's probably quite fitting for the new year to at least talk about this a little bit. But first of all, I'm just going to say I'm still coming off of the natural high that is the Jacobs from this year. Putting that stuff together is always a pain, especially having dealt with the second award show that I was was involved with. But yeah, now that it's wrapped up, and now that it was executed the way that it was, I feel like, several weights have indeed been lifted. I'm ready to take on the Mutant Girl remake in the new year, which always happens. Oh well. Also, comparatively, that's probably going to be fairly alright for some time. But always, wait for the VAs to come through for a bit, so it's never amps up quite at the immediate start. But I'm looking forward to that as well, because I've made no secret of it over the years, but the Mutant Girl episode 8, part 2 specifically, I feel like it's always been my least favorite ever since it came out, because it was made in extreme rush. It should have been 2 parts anyway. The fact that the 8-part one cut where it did was actually to its advantage, but obviously we're going to attempt to fuse them together and ignore the scene that was added post hoc that was supposed to be Halloween adjacent, because as I mentioned before, well, not mentioned before, may have mentioned it on camera, as I mentioned off camera before, there's a difference between trying to, they're just adding scenes, to make sure that it's a Halloween special, or trying to, include more things, and then just extending the runtime for the sake of including a bunch of other stuff that doesn't quite fit the story you're trying to tell, which was a lesson that I wouldn't say learnt, but I kind of enforced for the Christmas special. I'm not sure if anyone agrees, but to those who've seen the Mutant Girl Christmas special that came out a couple years ago, the scene where after Marwick leaves, and it's just Morwen and Agatha again. That was supposed to be like the ending point, and then because Aidan mentioned that we hadn't included Felix yet, he eventually won the argument of let's do a scene of at least just like him sending over a letter or something from prison. So I was like Prism, no. From prison to prism. No, imagine that. No, not quite. Sorry, Prism. But yeah, I mean, obviously, Prism aside, there's only Felix's relevancy is not always set in stone at the moment, because again, it was a relatively self-contained story. Christmas is the time for family, after all, and that's, something that Agatha was dealing with, but yeah, it still feels to me like the scene was tacked on as a result. Like everything was, coming together. We just had, let's resolve the issues with, not the issues, but resolve the challenge that Marwick had of, finding the perfect gift. We also had, right before that, of course, Rayna's confidence within, singing carols and everything. So, it was all coming together quite nicely. I don't know if it's just me, because like I always say, we're all our own worst critics. But that scene, I don't know. But yeah, let me know what you think if that last bit with Felix was came out of nowhere, because it wasn't set up. I think that was the issue. It wasn't set up, so it didn't feel right. Yeah. So anyway, what was I going to say now? Yeah. So back to what I was saying. There was a scene like that in Mutant Girl episode 8 part 2 that never made it, because it was going to be Halloween special, but then I was like, oh, you know what? This is taking too long, so I can't even do this anyway. This was also the intended ending of the episode anyway, so why am I extending this? Beginning, middle, and end. Very important part of storytelling. I'm sure we said something to that effect within like the blurbs of the Jacobs. But yeah, I'll park Mutant Girl discussion for now, because it will come back in a bit, because I think I've finally understood something that occurred 5 years ago in terms of maybe like more like 4-ish, well, about to be 5, I suppose, in terms of Mutant Girl content, and it's worth addressing. But that's let us gather a new perspective. And there's the church again. All right, turning around. But yeah, as far as the Jacobs goes, I mean, I keep saying, bigger and better every year, but I still vastly underestimated the reception of it. Like, it is always the biggest stream of the year, for me. But yeah, like to this, never to this degree before. I mean, part of that was because I know that Eli invited a few friends over to watch the proceedings, was starting to be the right move, because she ended up with the most awards this year, breaking breaking Bond's 2-year streak, I suppose. And also a few other creators who were reviewed recently for Gacha Fest and joined. Well, I mean, and it was even after Gacha Fest, Kawaii-chan VA was there, and their content was reviewed. Well, yes, partly for Gacha Fest, but also so I could include more content in the best musical category right before, right as the last Gacha review of the year. So that was quite a relief. Late entries like that do happen, of course. I mean, last year we had the Christmas Star by Hixna, which was one that, I mean, again, one that I really appreciated and really enjoyed, and needed to make sure it was like in there right towards the end. But yeah, and that was before, of course, what I perceive to be like a huge decline when it comes to her content specifically. But yeah, not that I'm not expecting that to happen again this year, especially not with Kawaii-chan VA, who seems to be very on board with telling that particular story and not having things go off the rails. Then again, if the same DNA nominations are anything to go by, going off the rails is by no means exclusionary from getting nominations or receiving awards. And there was, of course, one video that, because I was away, was on Gacha Review without me, that I haven't even seen. And I think that's the best approach that I could ask for when it comes to the Jacobs. Because of course, the first that started off was like, okay, well, I just like picked everything because I was the only judge for the first year, and then the audience said, hey, let's have us all vote for these people, and then afterwards, obviously last year was the time when other judges came in, and we started thinking, okay, well, this is a bit more, equal. And now we have a fourth judge who's joined us, or at least did join us for this year. The lineup may change next time, but that's all depends on them. They're all welcome back, obviously. But yeah, who's to say? But yeah. So yeah, I think the format this time, I've we're starting to go down like the best way to go about these things that makes it more engaging for the audience that was there, that waited 2 hours for me to actually finish the setup. Because yeah, it turns out that even if you reduce the projects themselves on Audacity, not Audacity, on Vegas, if you've got 10 of them open at the same time, it's gonna do you a lot of harm. Or a computer is. So yeah, again, not ideal. Much like this path is not ideal, as I have reached a dead end. But yeah, when Bond told me that we had 32 different voters this time, I was like, well, you know what? That's perfect. I was worried that the announcement was very quiet, and because no one has said anything, so I kept on forgetting to mention, hey, by the way, get your votes in, everyone. I was going to say that right after the last Occulta one-shot, and I completely forgot. Mostly because that lasted 6 hours, and we were all exhausted by the end of it. I mentioned it off camera to the people who were still there at the time, and they'd apparently all done so anyway, because like I said, people were on it this time, which is fantastic. Again, I'm glad that the Jacobs means as much to everyone else as it means to me. Because part of it, of course, originally was the fact that, you know, because again, the gacha community for a longest time has not been taken seriously. I thought, hey, let's do an award show, you know, to show off, you know, what can be done, what people are actually achieving in this community and with this format and everything. And yeah, I think the Gacha Guild Awards was announced by this point. I hadn't seen that announcement. And honestly, even if it were announced, I would have just simply been like, okay, this is not working. Let's do something Gacha review style, you know? Because yeah, on one hand, because I mean, the Gacha Guild Awards, to their credit, you know, like they do have the essence of trying to recognize the, you know, the talents and the achievements and the success of the gacha community at large. But of course, there's only like so much they can actually either cover or, you know, or highlights that's not from all of the popular sources, and being, I guess, selective in a different way that I wasn't, you know, thinking of. Because like, for the larger community itself, the fact that that award show exists and the fact that it's gone as far as it has is great. For within the community, I don't know if it's as fair, because of course, you know, there's only so much that you can actually even address. Gacha Fest has made that abundantly clear with their approach of, you know, everything that came out in 2025. And I'll tell you, that screening process is rigorous. So that can end up backfiring as well. But yeah, with since I try to cover an even balance of everything in Gacha review, even if I do miss something, people can always comment on it, and it can be rewarded at some other point. That's why I do things the way that I do on the Jacobs, and you know, part of why it's continued. Because I mean, again, some of the people, you know, who were seen this year, they were they'd never heard of Gacha review until recently. I felt like either someone like forwarded it to them, or they saw their content being reviewed and they knew that was happening, or I don't know exactly how that went down for like everyone. And then their communities also came in to support them in the process. So that's why it felt like the most authentic this year, compared to just one-off mentioning with you know, mentioning your the one hidden gem that without any sort of visuals or just like the name of the person, and then moving on completely. I'm still not over that, by the way. Misty Firefox was done dirty. As much as I'm not personally the hugest fan of FAFSA overall, the fact that that recognition came in such a lackluster way was, yeah, that was just unacceptable. So yeah, if I'd seen that at the time, even I would have been like, nope, I'm doing my own thing. So yeah, I guess the Jacobs is another thing that has transcended its original purpose, because it's great there are other award shows out there, but as long as people continue to appreciate mine, you know, I'm gonna continue it. This year there was one thing that happened that was quite different, that was brought to my attention during the putting together of the Jacobs nominations, or right afterwards. So to clarify, the Google form that was put together was not me. What happened was the judges we all sent in their nominations. We kind of like went on a call at one point and, you know, kind of like reduced them down to 4, sometimes 5, with the exception of reviewers' choices, because, you know, that's honorable mention, that's subjective, who cares? And while that was happening, well, after that happened, because that was Bond's collection, basically. And while that was you know, being voted on, there were a few things that needed to change because one of the videos that was there, we didn't know did not qualify for the position it was voted in. The creator of that video came forward and you know, revealed something that was unknown to me at the time, but it came about like right after that was set in stone, because you know, the plan that they had gone too far. I'm being intentionally vague because this person doesn't want to like reveal what happened yet. And again, upon reflection after discussing it with them, I completely understand, and honestly I feel like it probably should continue that way. The planned reveal was potentially too soon. And yeah, they actually really benefit from the secrecy in a way that I cannot explain in the name of said secrecy. So why am I bringing this up? Well, because when I actually heard about that the first time, I kind of shut down. I got very cold, I got very distant, and you know, I said some things to that person, you know, giving the context of, well, you know, I felt like I was you know, I felt like I was lied to. I have, for reasons that I've talked about before, a lot of baggage in terms of people actually, you know, keeping something a secret from me, or like not telling me what's happened, and then revealing it later on when the situation is far worse. The fact that people feel the need to do that, I mean, I've been told the reason why it happens, but I can't do anything about that reason. And in fact, the person who told me now is that they share the same traits as me when it comes to that. But yeah, like this person particularly knew the reason why that particular instance affects me so much. They've been guilty of it in the past, and so I was harsher on them than I needed to be. And I would apologize for that on here, but I don't know if they're going to see this actually, you know. So yeah, that's something that will be, now that the heat's calmed down, I will deal with and address them directly at a later point. The reason I bring this up is because it recontextualized something, a phenomenon that I have discussed at length, that I didn't understand before, but I really do now. So if you would cast your minds back to, I guess almost 6 years ago now, because it was, no, still the same time, like 4, almost 5, because it was, it was 2021 when this kind of like amped up significantly, but 2020 when it started, I guess, during the writing of season 2 of The Mutant Girl. So, I mean, again, I guess to go into a bit of, well, I say spoiler territory, but like I said, it's almost been 6 years for some of this stuff, so, you know. Oh, I forgot to mention, yeah, part of the reason there was an issue was with the ambulance. There was an ambulance on the way. Anyway, yeah, hope everyone's okay. Yeah, what was I saying? Yeah, reason, yeah, so I guess to discuss what happened in season 2 of Mutant Girl. This pertains to the whole circumstances around the kidnapping of Raina and the subsequent experimentation and makeover that she endured. So from my perspective, writing that, what happened was Felix, you know, had observed the group, had recognized Raina's insecurities, and had used those against her because, you know, he's a smart scientist. So he was able to, you know, figure out what exactly to say, and got her to actually comply with the idea that he had, or to, you know, be his guinea pig in order to use, I guess, the power of induced mutations to help, you know, cure his sister's vision. Part of it, of course, was that, you know, Raina, of course, knows said sister by now, recognizes that, you know, the cause came from a good place, even if the method was insane. So she eventually agreed to it because it also benefited her, from said insecurities. And it was around like the time that she got out, like the makeover happened, when she didn't actually mention what had transpired to her, that people started to hate her character. And to some degree, I know it was going to happen thanks to Aiden, because what we used to do was in the scripts, because by this point Aiden wasn't, because I had the idea of season 2 when Aiden first joined with the writing. He helped out, but a lot of the time, you know, he was reacting to me as I was like writing, and he was an audience test with occasional ideas being presented. Because I said this like way back in the day, I rejected like 90% of what he suggested because it wasn't in keeping with how the season had already been set out to go. Nowadays for season 3, you know, we're very much on the same page, and that whole script, you know, was very much a labor between the pair of us, akin to Fallen Angels, let's say, which honestly takes more the format of season 2 of Mutant Girl, in terms of Aiden will most of the time write on his own, and then I will come in through and inspect things. So we have different approaches, but ultimately, you know, the same kind of combination. So yeah, that's why the whole game of, you know, Aiden line or Jacob line came through, because to some degree, again, we're still different people. You can still tell in certain situations which one of us was responsible for certain points in the story. But again, I don't think that disparity, you know, comes at the expense of the overall quality. I think it's, you know, it's just the case that, okay, you know, this one, you know, the reins were geared in this direction for this moment. That was that kind of deal. I was making a different point, wasn't I? Something to do with, oh yes, the Raina hates, yes. So, you know, I was hoping it wouldn't go to like such extremes. With the exception of Monet, who had issues with the character before, everyone else's issues came in after that, and were only recontextualized once a character who was far worse than her came in, and, you know, people realized, oh, this is a repeated pattern that she's easily manipulated. I thought it was clear enough from the first time that happened with Felix, and how quickly that all came together. And I was shocked that some people were annoyed that, you know, she wasn't willing to come forward when she thought that no one else was getting hurt. That was the main thing there, you know, if because in the finale, well, I guess like in the episode before the finale, because the finale was after the reveal, once Marwick actually found out what was going on and put the pieces together, and he was in danger, that was when, as soon as that got put together, Raina immediately, you know, confessed what had happened, and, you know, went forward, and, you know, was the reason they were able to, was the reason they were able to, you know, confront Felix in the first place, because they knew it was happening. And that was all the intentional. That, you know, as long as no one else was caught in the crossfire, as long as no one else was negatively impacted by what had happened, then, by all means keep pretending that, you know, nothing did. Because, you know, what did it matter? And I was just thinking that is essentially what I went through when the person came to me and like told me, you know, what they'd actually done, and this big secret reveal that was not supposed to come in and only did the second that the Jacobs were involved. Part of my like distance was also because I recognize that in most situations, you know, that as soon as somebody has started crying historically, I tend to back down and go into you know, calming mode for them, even if, you know, I still have to try and get a point across, or, you know, or I still think that they're in the wrong. So like I do have that instinct, and I've you know, again, I've quelled that recently, partly thanks to, you know, the Maddie situation, because it, you know, because it was established at the mall that she actually, you know, sought out pity. Even my own family members came to me and you know, expressed their thoughts that things were going too far without knowing the full context of how it went, you know, was actually going. Part of it again was out of concern for me and like the impact it would have on me, and I will say this, 6 months down the line I am perfectly fine. But yeah, the time was more up in the air, so I get it. But yeah, like by that stage I was like, okay, you know, I need to make sure that if something like this happens again, that I don't immediately give in as soon as I know that someone is distressed about something, because I need to express that what happened was wrong. And that was, of course, before I realized that the whole situation and my reaction to it, the reaction to a secret that was being told to me because I needed to know right then because something had gone wrong, was exactly how I had written Raina to be all those years ago. So once again, the mutant girl predicted the future. It turns out that you lot were just, you know, ahead of ahead of me by like 5 years or so, nearly 5. So yeah, I mean, I'm sorry that I put all of you through that, particularly for this character that, again, most of you enjoyed before, Monet being the exception. I get that, that's a whole separate thing that I still have yet to find out what that was, because she was going to do a whole structured thing about it, and that never came to be, but, you know, she was busy, I understand that. But to everyone else, yeah, I understand that emotional response now. And again, now that I've had time to reflect on what happened, because again, it was, you know, from my own perspective, I still maintain that, yeah, I mean, that Raina, you know, did what she thought was right because, you know, again, no one else was being hurt. What was the issue? And meanwhile, you know, this person had to confess to not only me, but also to Bon, because Bon was the one who made the Google form. So, yeah, it was, so they had to go through the same thing twice in quick succession, and I did nothing to ease that process, because I hadn't yet realized that, you know, at least in a fictional setting, I had done the exact same thing years prior. So, yeah, I guess I've identified one of my own blind spots, and it's something I'm still wondering about, because, again, like, I don't think that my response was correct in terms of how that came down, because, again, I can out-logic myself when I realized the whole, you know, Raina connection. And as for other people, like, yeah, I know where they're coming from now. Do I necessarily agree now that I've experienced it myself? Well, I mean, I guess probably not, because, again, I think I was wrong for the way that I reacted. So I can't exactly say that, oh yes, you know, the point that I've been defending for so long, you know, suddenly is like, suddenly I'm backing down for that. It's like, yeah, no, not really. Like, yeah, wow. So yeah, it turns out that I've got a little bit of other self-reflecting to do, and things that I was not aware of before. A little bit of personal growth going into the new year. Because I mean, you're never done with that, are you? No matter how much time passes, there are still things that you don't realize that you're doing that you can take a step back and look at and be like, okay, well, where does that idea come from? So yeah, something that I will continue to be introspective about when it comes to the new year, because that's the right thing to do. And that's why I bring it up today, because it obviously ties into the whole theme of this being New Year's Eve and everything. Because now's the time people start to make resolutions. It's like that one episode of My Street where a bunch of characters declare their intentions for the next year, and unfortunately we don't get to see most of those come true. I get the feeling that Aphmau was gearing up towards a lot of those things being storylines that we would follow, because that's what you do with stories. You follow the characters once you understand their motivations, and you if you happen to like them, then you root for them in the pursuit of their goals. So a lot of that didn't come to be, but I guess that's probably it. And as far as my own personal story goes, yeah, I know that 2026 is going to be quite different overall. Not that 2025 wasn't, because it absolutely was. I've spent more time in Spain in the past 12 months than I have than I have back here, and even possibly before that, because I kept going back and forth, since like February 2024 even, and yeah. Who knows? But yeah, a lot of I've wrapped up a lot of all the things I want to do for this particular year, I guess, and again, can look to the future, both as far as projects go, my own personal mind, and I guess to continue to bring people, the same joy and validation that they found in the annual award show. Because to all those new people, rest assured, Gacha Review can be precisely that for a lot of people. I got a message from someone yesterday saying that they wouldn't be the same person if it weren't for Gacha Review, which was intended in a positive note, by the way. That can be interpreted either way, but I know this person in question, so I get what they were saying. So yeah, I think there's people coming in from both angles. I better, skedaddle this way. But yeah, a lot to think about for the future as we bring this year to an end. So happy New Year to everyone, and I hope that you're able to, if you are a person who likes to make resolutions, that you're able to do so, and to maintain them for your own personal character journeys in life. And we'll see everyone for the new year. So last message from me, of course, please leave a like or dislike, because your opinion matters, and subscribe if you haven't done so already. And on that note, until next year, farewell.